Emmanuel Hostin, the husband of The View host Sonny Hostin, has been accused of widespread insurance fraud, and Sonny basically admitted to it on camera. Let's talk about it.
Like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance, and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. So that makes Sonny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all.
Sonny Hostin just got slammed with a legal storm, and guess who's having a field day with it? Greg Gutfeld and Kat Timpf are roasting her harder than a Thanksgiving turkey served with a subpoena. Her husband's $450 million fraud case is turning out to be the scandal that just won't quit, and the jokes flying around are even juicier than the rumored offshore bank accounts. So stay tuned, because what Gutfeld and Timpf just said will make you question reality.
Nah, you look tantalizing. You know, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Because COVID also taught Sonny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered.
3 years, that's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable.
Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sonny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases.
Sonny Hostin probably woke up that morning thinking it was just another day to play judge, jury, and moral authority on The View. The usual routine with a sprinkle of self-righteousness, a touch of elitist eye rolls, and a full course serving of unsolicited lectures for America. But plot twist, the universe had different plans, because while Sonny was busy preaching about ethics, justice, and how the rest of us are just a few IQ points beneath her, the headlines hit like a gavel in Karma's courtroom. Her husband is now facing a fraud case so massive it makes Bernie Madoff look like a kid running a lemonade stand scam.
And I just want to hit myself in the face so I can feel something. You know, it's like so boring. He's like, yeah, I like Instacart, but don't worry, I tip the poors. But, you know, Joy, you actually don't like Instacart, and you do like the store. And then Joy is like, yeah, I do. I like to go to the store. I like to walk around and see what's at the store, what I do want, what I don't want. Maybe I want tuna fish, and I just want to hit myself.
Greg and Kat, oh, they didn't just comment, they devoured it. Gutfeld practically licked his fingers after delivering his punchlines, treating the scandal like dry-aged hypocrisy carved right at the table. And this wasn't just another segment, it was a gourmet roast served on fine china with a side of smug sauce reduction, while Kat took one glance at the headline and laughed like someone who's been saving receipts for years just for this moment.
It's about The View. It's like it's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. Ah! You know, it's like it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. You know, how can you now speak the truth when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're honest scum.
This wasn't breaking news to her, it was destiny in designer heels, and she could barely hide her delight as she watched Sonny's halo melt under the scorching heat lamp of justice, revealing a sparkling crown of contradiction underneath. Because let's be real, if hypocrisy were a luxury brand, The View would have franchised it by now, and Sonny has long been their star salesperson. You can't deliver daily tirades about ethics and corruption and then try to quietly slip away when your own home starts looking like a deleted scene. From The Wolf of Wall Street, because that's not how moral consistency works, Sonny.
The witch's coven finally shows me some lovin'. Yesterday on The View, yours truly was the subject of conversation. Apparently, the broads have no idea who I am, or so they say. Hit it, Gladys.
They said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he? Really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
No. Next, Joy's going to say she's never heard of carbs. Seriously, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch and Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar's.
That's how plot holes in bad movies work. Except this time, the script was written by Karma and edited by Gutfeld's writing room. Greg even joked that Sunny should start a new segment called Allegedly Yours, where she delivers hot takes from her moral high ground while dodging subpoenas, and Kat chimed in with her signature deadpan, saying it was finally a storyline on The View that's accidentally entertaining, because if laughter really is the best medicine, then Kat and Greg just handed out a year's supply to everyone tired of The View's usual doom and gloom routine. They weren't just enjoying the scandal, they were expertly dismantling the whole structure of self-importance that The View has built like an overpriced IKEA bookshelf, and when that thing finally collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions, Greg and Kat didn't blink. They just poured themselves a drink and raised a toast to poetic justice, served extra spicy, and Greg didn't stop at sarcasm either. He basically built a sarcasm slip and slide and invited the whole country to coast straight through the wreckage of Sunny's credibility, weaponizing irony like a tactical nuke and reminding everyone that Sunny has spent the past several years mastering the art of delivering lectures.
All right, Kat, did you ever see such a group? It's amazing how Joy and Whoopi became the smart ones.
For me, the most shocking thing about the conversation was how truly boring it was. They're like, well, the cicadas, they're cicadas. Okay, but it was like every 100 years. No, it's every 17 years. Do you know how many Emmys this show has? 31.
31 Emmys?
This show has 31. I mean, I'd hate to see the conversations that don't make headlines.
Now, her entire moral brand was sinking faster than a View panelist trying to explain economics without cue cards, and Greg strutted through the chaos like a cat that knocked over a priceless vase and blamed the dog, while Kat looked like she was having the time of her life watching the empire of self-righteousness collapse in real time. She didn't even blink, just leaned back with that signature half smirk that silently said, "This is going to be fun." And her disdain for The View is so thick it probably deserves its own tax bracket. As for Sunny, she became the latest cautionary tale in a long list of public figures who thought moral superiority came with diplomatic immunity, and Kat broke it all down like a science fair project gone wrong, her tone practically saying, "Observe." How one woman's decades-long ethics cosplay falls apart when real-life accountability shows up like a repo man with a clipboard. And she even mocked The View's signature on-air tone, that odd mix of brunch gossip and courtroom theatrics, by suggesting the next segment be titled Financial Crimes and Finger Wagging, a guide to having it both ways.
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
Greg, never one to be outdone, floated the idea that Sunny's next appearance should include a spinning game show wheel. Today's hot topic, fraud, privilege, or selective outrage. Spin to find out what we're ignoring today, which is the backstage chaos must have looked like a live-action soap opera crossed with a crisis PR seminar taught by interns. Just picture it. Cue cards burning, teleprompters glitching from cognitive dissonance, and producers hissing into earpieces, desperate to steer the show anywhere else. For the love of ratings, someone bring up Meghan Markle. Anything to avoid the $450 million elephant tap dancing through their fragile glass house of televised morality. And speaking of the co-hosts, let's not forget the same crew who can detect a GOP parking violation from 6 time zones away. But the moment one of their own gets tangled in a multi-million-dollar financial scandal, it's suddenly all about giving her privacy and focusing on love and light today. Love and light, by the way, is media code for "we've hired a lawyer." And we're not touching this with a Joy Behar monologue. And Greg, of course, could barely contain his delight because this scandal was like handing a flamethrower to a guy already juggling fireworks. While Kat looked like she was watching the finale of her favorite reality show, except in this version, even the fake houseplants are suing for defamation.
No, I'm also not surprised that there's one part of the video from the show yesterday that you left out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, can we roll that, please?
I don't watch the show that much, but I've seen it.
Who is that? Who is that?
Greg Gutfeld's one of the hosts of The Five, who, if I don't have anything nice to say, I generally don't say anything at all. I would just say this, his show should be called Kat Timpf, not Gutfeld, because she's the funny one on it.
Somebody's flirting with little Kat over here.
Well, she's the Republican one at the table, but I just think as a libertarian, I'm always looking to find common ground with other people because nobody really shares my politics. So I find some common ground in The View where she thinks I'm funny and I agree.
There you
They knew this wasn't just Sunny Hostin in meltdown mode. It was an entire media ecosystem tripping over its own smugness, falling face first into a pit of its own hollow platitudes. And while The View spiraled into damage control, Gutfeld and Timpf cranked their sarcasm engines to full blast because when your show essentially operates as a sanctimony factory and one of the founding managers gets dragged into a fraud case, you don't just lose credibility, you lose your moral GPS entirely, which, in Sunny's case, might have been recalibrated to avoid Accountability Boulevard with a hard left turn onto Deflection Lane. By now, Greg and Kat weren't just criticizing a talk show, they were poking a bloated, wheezing balloon of elite hypocrisy just to hear it sputter out the last puffs of self-righteousness. And America, well, America was sitting there with popcorn, in the front row, wondering how The View was going to spin this one without accidentally reinventing fiction. And of course, Gutfeld took it one step further. He didn't just laugh at the situation, he framed it as a masterclass in accidental self-parody, calling out The View's weekly sermon about how the right is corrupt, greedy, and basically evil incarnate. Yet here we are with Sunny's financial fairy tale now turning into a courtroom drama.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see?
And the best part, the sheer scale of the alleged fraud. This wasn't a parking ticket or a misfiled tax return. No, this was the kind of number that makes Wall Street CEOs nod in dark appreciation. Kat, never one to miss a chance to break the fourth wall of media hypocrisy, pointed out how The View somehow skipped covering their own co-host's scandal with the same fire and fury they reserved for, say, a conservative sneezing in the wrong tone. No panel discussion, no dramatic music stings, just a quiet shuffle to the next topic, as if a $450 million fraud case was just a minor wardrobe malfunction. Imagine if this had been anyone on the right, Meghan McCain would have been tied to a stake and burned live on ABC. Greg, in his usual cheeky fashion, started making comparisons, saying it was as if irony packed its bags, moved to Manhattan, and bought a front row seat to The View. And then Kat added the cherry on top, Sunny's silence. No grand speeches, no heartfelt soliloquies about how justice would prevail.
You know who just stunk up The View. The Bidens joined The View this morning for the entire hour. The audience was caught off guard, but knew something was up when they saw a dozen Secret Service agents and 2 embalmers. There were a few awkward moments, though, when a confused Joe asked if he could bid on the showcase.
But was he surprised Kamala lost?
Meanwhile, Greg cranked his sarcasm dial to 11 and practically melted the circuitry. It wasn't so much commentary as it was performance art, the kind where irony wears tap shoes and dances across every ounce of Sonny's sanctimony. He didn't suggest a GoFundMe for legal defense. Please, that would be far too cliche. No, he proposed something way more practical, a nationwide popcorn fund, because let's be real, this saga had all the makings of a box office hit, and the American public deserves front row snacks while watching the sanctimonious ship take on water. And just when you thought the roast was over, Greg turned the heat up again. Sonny's next career move. Forget law, forget daytime TV, there's clearly a publishing deal in her future, a literary masterclass in contradiction. The hypocrisy didn't just weaken, it marinated, because here was a woman who spent years crafting a public persona built on sanctimony and legal expertise, while apparently living in a home where the financial documents had more plot twists than an M. Night Shyamalan movie. And how did The View respond? With a group hug and collective amnesia, because accountability, like common sense, is in short supply over there. Kat, never one to let absurdity slide without a spark, reminded everyone of the last time The View turned a minor conservative gaffe into a week-long ethics seminar.
Amazing. Oh. That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years. They're turning on me. So that makes Sonny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by the View's gravitational pull.
450 million? Hey, let's circle back to Fashion Week, she joked, even suggesting they rename the show The Skew for its ability to twist anything uncomfortable into a round table of eye rolls and softball questions. Greg, ever the showman, then delivered the ultimate hypothetical. Imagine if I or Kat were even tangentially connected to a fraud case of that scale. We'd be canceled faster than Joy Behar forgets she's supposed to let people finish a sentence. And it's true, the double standard wasn't just showing up, it was doing cartwheels down Broadway. And let's not forget, this isn't the first scandal to orbit The View. No, this place is like a magnet for public blunders wrapped in righteous packaging. But this one took the cake, baked it with irony, and served it on a silver platter of schadenfreude. And Greg and Kat didn't just eat it, they turned it into a 6-course meal of mockery, garnished with a side of "we told you so." But what made their takedown particularly delicious wasn't the volume, it was the surgical precision. They didn't need to yell or rant, they simply highlighted the glaring absurdity of a moral crusader caught in a net woven from everything she's ever warned us about.